During an historic visit to Angola, President Joe Biden addressed the enduring legacy of slavery in a poignant speech at the National Museum of Slavery today, referring to enslavement as our nation's original sin. Biden highlighted America's struggle with its history and emphasized its ongoing journey toward equality. Biden is the first sitting U.S. president to visit the sub-Saharan African country.
Because to fully consider how far our two countries have come in our friendship, we have to remember how we began. We hear them in the wind and the waves. Young women, young men, born free in the highlands of Angola, only to be captured, bound, and forced on a death march along this very coast to this spot by slave traders in the year 1619. In the building next to us, they were baptized into a foreign faith against their will. Our nation's original sin, one that haunted America and cast a long shadow ever since. From the bloody Civil War that nearly tore my nation apart, to the long battle with Jim Crow into the 1960s, for the civil rights and voting rights movement, which got me involved in public life. While history can be hidden, it cannot and should not be erased. It should be faced. It's our duty to face our history, the good, the bad, and the ugly, the whole truth. That's what great nations do.
We remember the stolen men and women and children who were brought to our shores in chains, subjected to unimaginable cruelty, Biden said, standing against the striking backdrop of a setting sun over the water. As rain began to fall and a rainbow appeared, he continued, "The United States is founded on an idea, one embedded in our Declaration of Independence, that all men and women are created equal. It is abundantly clear today we have not lived up to that idea, but we have not fully walked away from it either." Biden's visit included a tour of the museum, established in 1977 on the former estate of Alvaro de Carvalho Matoso, one of the most notorious slave traders of the 18th century. The museum houses relics like shackles and whips that bear witness to the horrors endured by enslaved Africans. Nearby stands the 17th century Capella de Casagrande, a chapel where enslaved people were forcibly baptized before being trafficked across the Atlantic. Angola played a significant role in the transatlantic slave trade. Between the 16th and 19th centuries, approximately 4 million Angolans were enslaved and transported to the Americas, predominantly to Brazil. The first enslaved Africans to reach what is now the United States arrived in 1619 in Virginia, having been taken from Angola. Nearly a quarter of the 472,000 enslaved individuals in the U.S. originated from Angola and neighboring regions, according to the Slave Voyages database. Among the audience were Wanda and Vincent Tucker, along with their cousin, Carolita Jones Cope, descendants of Isabella and Antonio, two of the first Africans forcibly brought to America. The United States announced a $229,000 grant to support the restoration and conservation of Angola's National Museum of Slavery. In a statement accompanying the announcement, the U.S. noted, "Today, there are nearly 12 million Americans of Angolan descent." The Biden administration also endorsed Angola's bid to have the Kwanzaa Corridor, a 100-mile route along which enslaved people were marched, designated as a UNESCO World Heritage Site. Portugal's role in enslaving Africans has also come under scrutiny. As the primary colonizer of Angola, beginning in 1575, Portugal trafficked nearly 6 million Africans to the Americas, more than any other European nation. In April, Portuguese President Marcelo Rebelo de Sousa acknowledged the crimes committed during colonial rule, including slavery, and suggested reparations might be necessary, though the idea faced resistance from Portugal's right-wing parties. Angola's president, Joao Lourenco, has stated that the country will not seek reparations, calling it impossible to make up for the past. Tomorrow, President Joe Biden is scheduled to visit the port of Lobito, a key site for Angola's development. Western governments and companies have pledged $4 billion in investments for upgrading rail and port infrastructure, forming the so-called Lobito Corridor. This initiative aims to facilitate the transport of critical minerals used in electric car batteries from the Democratic Republic of the Congo and Zambia to global markets via Angola. While some analysts view the Lobito Corridor as a response to China's significant investments in Africa, both the US and Angola have refrained from framing it in such terms. Lourenco, who declared national holidays on December 3rd and 4th in honor of Joe Biden's visit, emphasized Angola's neutrality, stating that the nation would not align exclusively with either the US or China. Biden's visit underscores the complex interplay of history, memory and modern geopolitics, weaving together reflections on past atrocities with strategic economic partnerships aimed at shaping the future. Lourenco has nonetheless pivoted from his traditional close relations with Russia and China to also cultivating ties with Western countries since taking power at the helm of the long-standing ruling party in 2017. He won a second term in 2022 in elections that the opposition say were rigged to stop them from winning. Political activists have been arrested and repressive laws passed. John Kirby, the White House National Security Communications Advisor, said yesterday, "We're not asking countries to choose between US and Russia and China. We're simply looking for reliable, sustainable, verifiable investment opportunities that the people of Angola and the people of the continent can rely on." He said Biden's team hoped that Donald Trump would also see the Lobito Corridor's value. I find that highly unlikely. The United States, said Joe Biden, is all in on Africa. I'm Anthony Davis. You can find me on the 5 Minute News YouTube channel and podcast, on Wednesdays co-hosting Uncovered, and on Sunday on The Weekend Show with Midas Touch.